Now, you filthy swine, get in here, sit down, and pay attention. I think the most interesting way to try and pick apart whether creation is real or not is to try and find anomalies and see if the explanations for those anomalies are absurd. If they are extremely complicated, then you know you've found basically a hole in the fabric of our understanding of the world. And there are many of them. Usually the physicists refer to them as dark something or other, like dark matter or dark energy or dark flow. It's like, we don't know what's causing this. Let's just call it dark. Anyway, this article on the Daily Mail, written by Jonathan Chadwick, that's his name, the scientific discovery that proved God does exist, according to best-selling French book based on his insights from 26 Nobel Prize winners. It's a question that has been asked since the beginning of time. Does God really exist? Traditionally, science has been the counter-argument to the existence of a divine creator. Well, kind of, no, not necessarily disproving God, but it's a system of deduction that enables you to make predictions. It certainly has no agenda to disprove the existence of God. It's just the supposition that if you keep running this experiment of scientific deduction, eventually you might find that there is no God. That's the assumption from some people. However, French mathematician Olivier Bonacieux from Michael Yves Bollor, I don't know if I said that right, now say that science has become God's ally. In a new book, the duo have distilled insights from 62 Nobel Prize winners and more than 100 leading scientists to pinpoint the scientific discoveries that could prove God is real. This includes everything from the Big Bang, the most widely accepted explanation for the origin of the universe, to DNA and the human genome. The thing is, though, the Big Bang doesn't really describe why or how it even itself occurred. It just goes... if we rewind time, it appears as if all matter and time collides at a single point. Okay, maybe, but at the same time, maybe no such time occurred. Maybe the universe was spoken into existence at a much later epoch, and there was no time before then, and you're just extrapolating into completely abstract theory. I don't know. I'm not positing an opinion there. I'm just trying to balance out the arguments here. Assuming that everything started from the point at which your calculations break is weird. Maybe your calculations have broken because your assumptions are wrong, and that's not how things started. Just putting that out there. Until recently, believing in God seemed incomparable with science, said the authors. Now, unexpectedly, nobody expects science to appear to have become God's ally. Ultimately, whether science disproves or supports the existence of God remains open to interpretation. But these scientific discoveries offer a tantalizing glimpse at the possibility that our world is the result of design, not chance. So I'm going to take it from a more cautious angle and assume, because we are capable of creating and we do not appear to be unique, and the universe seems to be gargantuan, then there must be other creative forces out there, some much more capable than us, perhaps godlike. I don't know. Just throwing this out there. It's still, even for the science boffins who are ultra-atheists, there is still a very unavoidable argument that there are very advanced creative forces out in the universe. And if we don't take that into account and use at least a part of our reasoning process to say, well, could that have been aliens or, something? Then we will forever have broken hypotheses or theories or whatever, because we will be ignoring those possibilities. The Big Bang is the most widely accepted explanation for the origin of the universe, and posits that the universe exploded into existence from a single point about 14 billion years ago. According to the theory, in an instant quicker than the blink of an eye, matter and energy as well as space and time were suddenly born. It's like God did a big fart or something. Something went and there was everything. Many academics, including the late Professor Stephen Hawking, who was always late, never on time, have refuted the suggestion that a divine creator was behind the Big Bang. But according to the authors, both are Christians, such an action dictates there was some kind of higher being that could have triggered it. In their book, the duo asked if it's really such a leap to entertain the possibility of a creative act behind the Big Bang. The Big Bang forces us into a corner, they say in their book. To put it bluntly, it brings us face to face with the idea of God. Apparently, this is the entire universe and we're here somewhere. This timeline plots the expansion of space since the Big Bang. Space, including hypothetical, non-observable portions of the universe, is represented by the circular section. Yeah. I was thinking the other day, the idea of horizon seems to repeat quite often. I mean, we obviously have a horizon that we can see, but then the universe itself has a horizon, given that there is only a certain area of space that is observable. Everything else outside of that space is traveling away from us farther than the speed of light. So there's another horizon. And there's all sorts of other examples of that. Yeah, anyway, the fact that we can't really think about the time before the Big Bang, as the categories of time, space, and matter simply do not apply, lends credence to the idea of a creative act. If there was a mathematical information before the Big Bang, who is the incredible programmer behind such code? It was back in 1965 when two astronomers in New Jersey provided pivotal evidence confirming the theory of the Big Bang. For the first time, they discovered cosmic microwave background, CMB. They discovered the cosmic microwave background, the radiation left over from the birth of the universe, considered the Big Bang's leftover glow. However, half a century later, there is still not an alternative theory that's supported by experimental observations. The French mathematicians point out, "We wait in vain," they added. Life only exists on Earth due to a precise combination of factors, such as just the right temperatures, our planet's protective magnetic field, and the proportion of oxygen in the atmosphere. Other vital parameters include the perfect inclination of Earth's axis of rotation and the thickness of its ozone layer, protecting us from the sun's deadly radiation. More broadly, everything in the universe is governed by essential forces such as the strong force, the weak force, and the electromagnetic force. Well, to kind of tug at the threaded ends of that, just because we are able to survive on this planet does not necessarily mean that it is hospitable for any other possible life forms. There are creatures who are thriving around the decommissioned reactor in Chernobyl. So, yeah, just because you can't survive, that doesn't mean somebody else can't or something else can't. The researchers point out that these constants carry a series of numbers or values, calculated by some of the finest scientific minds, such as German physicist Albert Einstein. Either these fine-tuned numbers are the result of chance, one that is only infinitesimally unlikely, or they come from complex calculations of a highly intelligent creator God, says Bollore, and also Polonaise. Sorry, I can't say names that are French. I'm just incapable. So for some of these numbers, a very slight variation by even a distant decimal point would have yielded an unrecognizable universe, and we would not be here to talk about it. They write, this school of thought, known as the fine-tuned universe hypothesis, conjures the image of an almighty creator in the heavens twiddling dials and knobs. While this image may be a leap of the imagination, the alternative belief that the universe is a purposeless accident is less backed by the perfectly calibrated numbers. Theoretically, Earth might have existed without harboring the wonderful diverse range of plants and animals that it does today, but somehow life found a way. Around 4 billion years ago, inert matter became the earliest primitive life forms and DNA mysteriously came into existence. Yes, there was no creator there, it just happened. In 1953, the discovery of DNA's double helix structure by Sir Francis Crick and James Watson revealed the existence of a single encoding language common to all life forms. More recently, in 2003, scientists built on the work of Crick and Watson to map the human genome, the entire set of DNA instructions found in the cell. Crick himself, an atheist, admitted a complex structure like DNA could not have appeared by chance and appeared to be almost a miracle. DNA forms part of a unique, sophisticated and coordinated coding system that points to the existence of an intelligent designer. Bollore and Polonaise suggest life arose when it did due to natural laws set in place by God at the very beginning, or the result of a special intervention by the same creator. Look at Stephen Hawking. He's very late all the time, you know. Doesn't he look very late? He looks so lazy. You're a lazy chap, sir. You're very late. In the last 50 years, we have discovered that the complexity of life surpasses anything we could have imagined, they say. Today's leading figures in science have been humbled by this fact. Einstein's theory of relativity. Albert Einstein, who described himself as not an atheist but didn't embrace religion either, so he's agnostic, developed a theory of relativity between 1905 and 1917. So I would describe myself as either an agnostic with a lot of respect and admiration for Christianity, or a Christian with a lot of questions. So I'm kind of caught between the two at the moment. But the one common factor is I think Christians and Christianity is awesome and needs promoting, and I need to know more. The theory, which altered our understanding of physics, says time, space, matter, and energy are interrelated and that no single one of them can exist without the other. It says light, and specifically the speed of light, is the only constant in the universe, and everything else is relative, even time. Some Christians have interpreted the theory as proof that God exists by drawing comparisons between light and God, both unchanging constants. Notably, the Bible says God is light and repeatedly uses the word light to describe an all-present God, such as I am the light of the world and the Lord is my light and my salvation. The theory says time would stop if something was traveling at the speed of light, while comparably, God is eternal, having no beginning and no end. So God is outside of time, God is effectively hyperdimensional, and God is the light. Now, I think if the purpose of existence is to grow to be a better individual, then God being the light that we grow towards seems like a pretty good metaphor. Just similar to how sunflowers point towards the light. If you use the Bible as a guide to becoming a better person, you will actually travel towards the light. I think that's the gist that I get there. Although Einstein didn't present this religious interpretation as truth, aspects of his theory certainly support the belief that God exists. Quantum mechanics. Of all the scientific discoveries in the 20th century, few have left scientists dumbstruck like quantum physics. Classical models of physics cannot explain the world of quantum mechanics, which challenge our understanding of reality. For example, a phenomenon called quantum entanglement describes two particles and their properties becoming linked without physical contact with one another. In recent years, French physicist Alain Aspect, a Nobel Prize winner, demonstrated quantum entanglement between two particles about 40 feet apart that were dialogued instantaneously with each other. Quantum experiments like that have made it clear that within the realm of physics there is another layer of reality, the duo say in the book. The 20th century discovery of the quantum nature of our world, which shows that it is indeterminate and radically subject to change, is metaphysically essential, they added. It provides indirect confirmation of the thesis that God exists while undermining the determinist propositions held by atheist scientists of the 19th century. So does science prove God exists? Overall, the authors insist that the evidence of God's existence is abundant, clear, and rational, and their arguments are grounded in reason and careful analysis. Traces of God's actions in the universe are far more tangible than those of aliens, they add, but somehow scientists spend more effort to find the latter. We are living in extraordinary times, they conclude in the book. Although this shift has gone largely unnoticed by the general public, we are in the midst of an intellectual paradigm shift that fundamentally redefines our approach to the question of God's existence. Professor Stephen Hawking's big questions and his answers. Is there a God? Stephen Hawking says, no, there is no God. No one directs the universe. Okay. How did it all begin? A hot big bang. Okay, it's all of his opinions. He's basically just saying no. He's saying no a bunch of times, and we're supposed to believe him because he's always late. Look at him. He's contemplating being late again. There he is. Very lazy. Very lazy man. There are lots of examples of phenomenon out there that are not easily explainable, and the Big Bang is one of them. And getting confused between a very elaborate mechanical explanation of how things work and relying on that exclusively as an explanation for the world, it doesn't cut it for me. I think it is a legitimate question to ask what happened before the Big Bang. And when people can't answer that, that doesn't help. Just saying there's no God, no. God of the gaps, I think, is the most common comeback for those kinds of questions. Like you're trying to insert God into any conundrum, any area of science that is incomplete. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of mysteries out there, but to completely dispel the idea that there are higher creative forces out there, I think is ridiculous. Of course there are. We are examples of that ourselves. And if we allow ourselves to become more competent and intelligent and advanced, then we will be doing pretty spectacular, dare I say, godlike things in the future anyway. So, yeah, I think it's a legitimate thing to look into the universe and look for examples of creation and creative effects. I mean, you could say DNA is a miracle. Yes, it's insanely complicated. Perhaps there are so many permutations of possible universes that in one of them DNA would would inevitably have arisen. So you could remove the need for God for that. But at the same time, if what I'm kind of getting at with my idea of God, in Christianity, they refer to God as the Father, and we are his children. And so if you were a creator, why are you creating? Why are you trying to populate a universe of your own creation with beings? Perhaps you're looking for companions. Perhaps you're lonely. Perhaps you're looking for something to discuss and be with. Perhaps prior to humans existing, other beings were created by God, such as the angels and the demons. I think this is actually part of the Bible, is it not? Maybe the idea, similar to a gardener, you're not controlling every aspect of a plant's growth. You're encouraging it to grow. You're giving it light. You're giving it resources. You're seeing how strong it can become, how strong it can grow authentically, because there's a limit to how much authenticity you can have in something that is purely created. So if you were a creator that was interested in authenticity, then you would start processes and you would stand back and watch them unfold. And maybe you might intercede occasionally when things go wrong, the odd miracle here and there, to set things right. Maybe you could argue that. But I'd say in a situation like that, the instances of any higher power interceding would be relatively infrequent. I imagine from my own small monkey brain that God would like a universe that would bootstrap itself and be more authentic. So that's why there doesn't appear to be much God handling going on in the universe. Imagine for a moment the universe actually started here. Let's say this is 1 billion years ago, and everything before then was pre-baked. God just cooked up a universe and just pressed go, and here it is. But if you were to run the simulation backwards, it appears as if it comes down to some crunch point where nothing makes sense. But actually none of this over here happened at all, maybe. If you're familiar with how computer software bootstraps itself, you can see that all software has like an initialization phase where shiz goes a bit weird as it's loading in assets and initializing variables and getting stuff started. And the Big Bang, to me, seems very much like that, where nothing really makes much sense and it's just kind of initializing itself. And so something's going on around here. This is where the simulation or the creation was kick-started, maybe. And all of the science that points to what's going on here perhaps maybe isn't as solid as we're led to believe. But that is it for now. If you like the show, like the show. If you don't like the show, well, I don't know why you're here, but please do come back. But that is it for now. Pigwig, out.
Oink, oinkity, snort, schnuffle, schnuffle, squee, oink, oink, wee, squeal, snort, snort, oinkity, squee. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Snort, schnuffle, oink, squee, squeal, wee, snort, oinky, oinkity, oink, oink, schnuffle, wee, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Oink, oinkity, snort, schnuffle, schnuffle, squee, oinkity, oink, oink, snuffle, wee, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, wee, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 wee, 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 oh. Squeal, squeal. Snort, shuffle, oink, re-squeal, re-snort, oinky, oinkity, oink, 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 snuffle, re-squeeze, snort, oink, squeal, oink, oink, oinkity, squeeze, squee, re-re-re, snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, oink, oink.